Hey, and welcome to today's Daily Distinction. I'm really glad you're here, whether you're watching on Facebook and YouTube here and Twitter. Thank you for watching. If you're watching live on Instagram, as we've said before, one of the things on Instagram is that you can't see the visuals that are put up because of the different format, but really glad you're here. Wherever you are watching today, thank you for sharing. Would really appreciate it if you jump on and share this so that other people can join us. I really appreciate when folks share it. And man, I think we had more shares yesterday than we've ever had. So thank you for taking time to do that. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for connecting. I really, really appreciate it. So thanks in advance to the folks that share. If you're watching on the replay, and I almost forget to say that every day, but you know, the majority of folks that watch this, in fact, do watch it on the replay. Love the folks that watch live because you get in the conversation. But thank you for the folks that are watching on replay, and please share it as well. Glad that you're here. Hey, thanks to Rick checking in on Twitter today. I really appreciate that, Rick. Dwayne, always great to see you. Happy holiday weekend coming up. You know, being from Indiana, it's killing me that we don't have an Indy 500 coming up here this weekend. Hopefully, they're going to be able to get it going later on, but man, it's killing me. No Indy 500 because I'm so used to this being the time that we do that. Scott, always great to see you. Thank you for being here today, and thanks for jumping in. So we've got a really important topic, I think, today, and it's one I really want. Send your comments, so whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on Twitter or Facebook. But one of the things I've heard so much is it's just semantics. In other words, it's the same words to describe the same thing. In other words, you're using, it's just semantic. You're using a different word, but it really means the same thing. I hear that many times when I talk about distinction at first. People say, well, differentiation, distinction, same thing. To me, it's not. Differentiation means something is different, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to mean anything. My standard line here is I always say I could slap every customer in the face and I would be really different, but it doesn't mean that what I'm doing would have any meaning that would get customers to come back or grow my business. So in other words, being different isn't better. Being distinctive means that what you do that is different than your competition really has significance and really has meaning for your customers. So I think it's much more than just semantics. It's words have meaning, right? I mean, that's why we use different words to describe different things, because words have meaning. So what are the meanings? And so that's one of the things that we hear sometime about moving forward or moving on. As things are reopening, and again, I'm not talking about, we don't get into the political aspect of it, or we don't get into, you know, I'm certainly not I'm not an immunologist. I'm not a pandemic expert. I know folks that play that on social media, even though they're not qualified to do so. But things are opening back up. So the question is, how do we take what's happened in our lives to this point? Where do we go next? Do we move on, or do we move forward? And that's going to be what we talk about a little bit in our time together here today. Hey, Ted, as always, it's great to see you. Thanks for jumping in here. Really appreciate it. Ellen, so good to see you. Often moving on is a stepping stone to moving forward. Yeah, moving forward may be too big of a leap. Well, we're going to talk about that, Ellen. Yes, absolutely. And Curtis, thank you for chiming in and for being here today. Here's how I'm going to talk about it and going to describe it. And many of you know, many years ago, back in 2005, I dealt with the loss of my spouse of 20 plus years. And one of the things that people said, and they meant well, they had great intentions, but because she had dealt with a terminal situation for almost 5 years, and we had dealt with that, one of the things that people said who meant well is, well, now it's time to move on. You've struggled with this, you've dealt with this, now it's time to move on. If you've had any challenge, and tell me someone alive that hasn't, if you've dealt with any challenge and you've got to get past that challenge, well-intentioned people have said to move on. But the question is that the right advice? The question is, should we be moving on? And I'm going to suggest to you that here are a couple things, a couple similarities in terms of what people are thinking and are saying, and that moving on. Think of the difference between healing versus curing. There are some things we want to be healed from, but not necessarily cured of. When I think about the tragedy that happened in my life, I want to be healed from the pain, right? When all that was going through, but you're not going to cure that. You're not going to cure that. There are other things that we want to be cured of. If I had heart disease, for example, I would want the doctor to cure me of that challenge. So there's a fundamental difference between healing and curing. It's not just semantics. It is a fundamental difference. Dwayne here says sometimes you even need to step back, see the big picture so you can, yeah, exactly. Moving on to me seems to be, well, here's another example. It's the difference between honoring and forgetting. Honoring means that we're going to carry it with us. Forgetting means we're going to leave it in the past. So one of the challenges about this is that when we find ourselves in a very difficult situation, like what we've been dealing with the pandemic, man, we want to drop that and we want to move on. And that's been part of the pressure on society right now, is that the desire to move on. And why do we desire that? Because we want to leave all this junk, all this crap, if you will, in the past, because this has been tough. This has been hard. This has not been easy to deal with. Maybe your business has been decimated. My business has been, there's nothing. It's a real challenge. But moving on also means we don't take the lessons with us because we want to leave it back there. Moving on means that what has happened to us in our life and what has happened, how many people have you seen that are posting, it's 2020, let's reboot. Right? Let's forget all this. And that's moving on. And I get that, man. There's a part of me that, man, I just want to flip the switch and have everything go back to the way it used to be. And you and I know that is not going to happen. And so I'm going to suggest to you that part of what I'm thinking about and part of what I want to suggest to you that you think about is that if we don't learn and take with us what we've learned, then we lose a lot of the value of what's going on. Here's what I mean by that. If all we want to do is to reboot and move on and get forward, and let's get back out there and leave all this in the past, then then we lose any value that we could take it for. Yeah, you've heard me say here before, never waste a good crisis. It doesn't mean that what we have happened to us is good. It doesn't mean that what's going on is great. But what it also means is we've got to take from this and learn from this and not just leave it in the rear view mirror. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. I admire so much what you say, and to have you chime in here is really great. Randall, Will Rogers moved forward. Yeah, from vaudeville to silent movies to talk. Yeah, Randall Reeder has been a good friend for a long time, and one of the things that Randall does is to, I guess, impersonate is the right word, Randall. I hope that's the right word. But he appears as Will Rogers. If you're on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, you can see his picture there in front of the Will Rogers statue. And Will Rogers didn't move on because he took what he learned in vaudeville to go to the silent movies. And then he took what he learned in vaudeville and the silent movies and he moved forward in the talking movies and syndicated newspaper columns. And yeah, absolutely. And so part of what moving forward means is that we take what we have learned and we advance. That makes sense? Which is what I would rather do. I would rather take what I've learned and advance than I would to just leave it in the rearview mirror. Just leave it behind. It's the difference between healing and curing. It's the difference between honoring and forgetting. I want to honor what's happened to me in the past. I don't want to forget what's happened to me in the past, because the past makes up who we are today. So I've got three things that I think are going to help us to move forward rather than moving on. Three things I want you to consider about how you can take what's going on in your life right now in the pandemic and use it to help chart a better path. I see some of us online right now have talked about this, how much venom and anger that we're seeing right now. I mean, I see news reports of people that are, getting in altercations because a store requires them to wear a mask. I see, you can post something online. For example, give you a quick one from yesterday. I saw someone post, President Trump tweeted his displeasure about Fox News. And then I saw someone that I knew that tweeted, well, part of the reason that Fox News is changing is because it's now owned by Disney. Now, in fact, that's not true. Disney bought Fox movie studios, but the Fox television network and Fox Sports and Fox News is still owned by Fox Corporate, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, who has owned Fox News from day one, right? So Disney has nothing to do with Fox News. They're as totally separate companies as Ford and General Motors. So I posted, by the way, that and easy to understand, but it's inaccurate because Disney bought the movie studios, but they didn't buy Fox News. So Disney has nothing to do with Fox News. You would have thought that's just facts. It has nothing to do with any political. I wasn't saying anything negatively or positively about Trump. I wasn't saying anything about anything other than that. It's about a purchase transaction. There's no way to do a conservative purchase transaction or a liberal purchase. It either is or it isn't. You either bought it or you didn't. You either own it or you don't. As Mark Mayfield, my great friend, used to say, you never drive down the road and see a sign that said for sale by renter, right? If you're renting, you can't sell it. You don't own it. So you either do or you don't. So it had nothing to do with that. But everybody jumped in. And, what do you mean by how do you know you could? It's just saying, no, it's just, it doesn't, right? So we've seen so much venom and so much anger and so much stuff going on out there that there's some of that we got to leave behind. But if that's what you're bringing to the table, it's time to let that go. So one of the things I'm suggesting to you is, if you can't take a good lesson from this, then you better drop it and move on. However, I think for most of us, there are lessons that we've learned through this pandemic that now we can move forward. So here are three ways that we can move forward. But before I get to that, before I get to the three ways we can move forward, if you haven't shared this yet, I hope that you'll share it. Secondly, I want to talk for just a second before I talk about the three ways and to make certain that everybody knows about Distinction Nation. That's what I've got over there. That's the main website of Distinction Nation. Join us at Distinction Nation. There are free resources there to help you move forward, to help you innovate, to help you get through this period of time. It's absolutely free. All you got to do is go sign up at distinctionnation.com, and you can get those free resources available to you. And why would you watch this every day and not do that, right? Sign up at Distinction Nation. It helps us stay in touch with you. It helps you access free resources. It's all there for you on Distinction Nation. All right, here's the three. Number one, it is what it is. Accept it. There is a challenge right now, and there is a virus right now. Accept it. Conspiracy theories don't help us. Accept that it is what it is, and that's the first state. Being in a sense of denial is not helping anybody. Being in a sense of denial doesn't improve your chances of success. All it does is mask the real difficulty. Look, it is what it is, so accept it. There's, it's the old thing that speakers quote so much, God grant me the uh, serenity to accept what I cannot change, uh, and the wisdom to know the difference. It is what it is. And so I cannot deny that there's something going on out there and it's making people sick. It is what it is. I got to accept it. Okay. So that's where we begin, with an acceptance of what the situation is. When I was dealing with a personal tragedy, it did me no good to deny it. You got to accept it. It is what it is. I would love to be a member of the Indianapolis Colts, my favorite team. I am never going to play in the NFL. It is what it is. Accept it. We have to get real. The first step to getting better is, first of all, to get real. So it is what it is. Accept it. Here's the second I want to suggest. Give up making it a priority to be right. Have you seen this on social media? I know you have. There are people that will argue to the death that they are correct, that they are right, that everyone else is wrong but them. There's a great book called A Whack to the Side of the Head, and it's the best book I've ever read on creativity. And part of what Roger Von Eck, who's the author of the book, part of what he writes is that if you think about it, our education trained us to believe that there was one right answer. And when we get to the first right answer, stop. 2 + 2 = 4, stop. That's the right answer. There are no other right answers. 16th president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, stop. That's it. There are no other right answers. Well, now in life, there are some things that are the only right answer. 2 + 2 is 4. There are no other right answers. But when it comes to most things in our life, there are more than one right answer. And most times, in my experience, is the best right answer is seldom the first right answer that you stumble on. Has that been your case? That the first right answer may not always be the best right answer? Darcy, you are so right. We've got to accept the suck. We've got to accept, hey, it is what it is. This is what it is. And it absolutely sucks. And if we deny that, then we halt our progress. Jeff, great to see you. Being negative only makes the journey more difficult. Yeah. You've been given a cactus, but it doesn't mean you got to sit on it. Yeah, I love that, Jeff. That is so true, right? The negativity only makes the journey more difficult. Phil, great to see you. If you have a choice between being right and being kind, choose kind. Better words were never spoken. Phil, that is so good, right? But yeah, we see so many people who have thrown kind out the window in a relentless pursuit of being perceived as being right. You got to give up the priority of being right. So when you determine it is what it is and we accept it, and we say we don't have a priority on being right, we're gonna live. Now the next thing is to be proactive. Be proactive. Don't be one of those folks that says, I'm going to wait and see what happens. Go ahead and make it happen. Be proactive. Look, in my business with the challenges, and Phil, I know you're going through this, and many of the other folks in the meetings and speaking industry that are watching, that are going through this, it's a challenging time. Now, I can either pull the covers over my head. Look, here's what I can do. I can say it is what it is. This is a challenging time. Denying that meetings are being canceled is insane, right? I mean, it is what it is. So I've got to accept it. Next, I've got to give up the priority that the way I've always done it in the past is the right way, or the way I believe it is the right way, and all of that. I've got to give up that priority. I've got to be open, and I've got to be accepting. Now I've got to be proactive and decide what I'm going to do and take action on it, and not just sit back and wait. Not just pull the covers over my head. And to me, that means I'm going to move forward. I'm going to make reasonable and intelligent decisions and move forward on that to a better future. Uh, yeah, even if I was a Colts player, I wouldn't be in first place, Pam. Absolutely. Yeah, you betcha. And the cool thing is when Andrew Luck came along, his priority of another children's hospital there in Indianapolis was really great. We've been so blessed with good players who do good things. Yeah, being perfect is being right. Being your best is willing to be wrong. Yeah, yeah. You're so right, Phil. I like that, Russell. You want to be right or you want to be rich? I know. I'm with you, my friend. I know folks that have given up success because being right was more important to them than being successful. I love it. That's so true. So those are the three things that we've got to do. We start by saying, I acknowledge what the situation is. Doesn't mean I like the situation. As Darcy said earlier, it sucks. It just is what it is. Okay, it is what it is. I accept it. Second, I've got to give up on that priority that I had of being right. It is what it is. I'm going to learn from it. And I might have been wrong about some of the things I thought about. I posted a thing on Facebook the other day, and part of what it said is that if we look at science, that part of science is changing your mind. That's a natural part of science. Why? Because as we learn new things, we can't hold on to the old formulas. We can't hold on to the old ways. We have to continue to learn and to grow. So now that we're going to give up the priority to be right, and it is what it is, let's figure out what we can do and move forward. Let's honor what we've been through. I'm not just going to leave all this behind, because then it makes the struggle not have as much meaning. If you've struggled to get to this point, if you're frustrated, and don't bring venom, look at it as a lesson. I can either look at this as horrible, or I can look at it as a lesson that was hard to learn. I prefer that. So moving forward, how are you going to do virtual personalized book signings at the end of the speech? What we'll do, Dwayne, is instead of a book signing at the end of a speech, it's more about how do we do Q&A to make it more personalized. Or when the new book comes out, people that do that will hold an event online, and then I'll sign the book and send it to them. We'll find ways to make that unique and make that different, and to focus on that, to be proactive, so that those who desire that kind of connectivity will find a different way to do it. In other words, I'm working on a video on this right now. Interesting that I didn't plan on talking about this, but interesting you bring that up, Dwayne, because part of what I'm working on a video right now is that the why hasn't changed. I mean, the why of what you do should not have changed. If you've read Iconic, that I talk about that I have a little bit of a problem with the Simon Sinek approach about why. I believe it's absolutely critical that we have a why. I think it's absolutely critical that we know our why. I think the why is absolutely at the core of importance. But the problem is, and this is where I think Sinek has it wrong, our customers do not buy our why. They buy our how. If I buy a coffee cup, right, from Starbucks, right? Look, I'm drinking coffee out of the Starbucks coffee cup, and all of a sudden the handle falls off the mug and it's a cheap piece of junk. Do I go, oh man, well, it's okay because they've got a great why? No, I don't. I'm not buying the Starbucks why. I'm buying the how. The mug works. It looks good. The stem is great. The handle works. I'm buying the how. The how, it helps me drink my coffee. I'm buying the how, not the why. The why is critical because it's the core of who you are and what you do and what your core values are and all that. But customers buy our how. And so what's happening right now is that we're so focused on, we're not having events. We're not getting together. We're not doing that. We're forgetting that the why that we're doing it hasn't changed. For example, in my business with meetings, why do we have meetings? Well, it's to inform and to train and to educate, to inspire and to connect. That hasn't changed. Now, how we do it on a Zoom conference, on social media, how we do it, we've got to be proactive about in terms of the change. But if we don't honor the why, then we'll never properly execute the how. If we don't honor the why, we'll never properly execute the how. So what we're doing is looking for different hows, even as we deliver the same why. Does that make sense? There should be a Distinction Nation branded mug. I know somebody that's working on that right now. So we'll have more on that pretty soon as well. So what I want to encourage you to do, what I want to suggest that you do, is to focus on moving forward. I mean, wherever you are, maybe restaurants are open, maybe they're not. Maybe businesses are open, maybe they're not. Maybe your business is really, really challenged right now. Maybe it's not. But honor the lessons that we've learned through this very trying time. And then consider, for example, even if meetings in my business open up and every hotel is open and man, we can have meetings, I still think this is a valuable way to connect with people. I don't think this is ever going away. I don't think this is ever going to disappear. So we've learned from something. Let's move forward and utilize this great thing that we've learned and move forward so that we can continue in the process. So it is what it is. I don't have to be right. I just want to learn and move forward. And I want to take action and make it happen. When we do those things, then we are truly creating distinction. When we do those things, we are truly making great things happen. And when we do these things, we can make a difference in someone else's lives and our own as well. Let's make the commitment that even if others move on, what we really want to do is to take and draw from this experience and move forward. Hey, thank you for those of you that are sharing this. It's really, really important that you do. Thanks for those of you that have watched through on the replay. Thanks for everybody that's hanging in here with me today. I really appreciate it. We're putting together some guests. We're going to have some guests coming up soon. And I think it's my favorite 30 minutes of the day when we have a chance to connect and to share and to talk here. It is absolutely the best. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching Daily Distinction every day. Thanks to the folks on Instagram. Thanks to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter for being here. I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow right here at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, for our next episode of Daily Distinction.